Are we gonna go in? Test, test, test. Did you get a mic?
I'm not able to do it. Handheld.
Handheld, okay.
Dos.
Test, test. Okay, there we go.
Okay, are we good on the live stream?
Test, test, test.
We good on live stream? All right, everybody. How's everyone doing this afternoon? Welcome to day 5 of Rio Grande Valley Startup Week. My name's Nathan Burkhardt. I'm with BCIC. One thing at BCIC we've always really wanted to strive with our programming here at the eBridge Center is to create more opportunity, and the best way to do that is also retain our top talent. So about 5 years ago, I met an individual in Atlanta at a conference who had an amazing program over at UT Austin. Flash forward to now, and our next guest coming up on stage, Ruben Cantu, is the CEO and founder of Elements, who run our Frontera Leadership Institute, specifically designed to keep that top talent here in Brownsville and place them in strategic areas of leadership throughout our community to continue to grow and foster this ecosystem of entrepreneurship that we have. So introducing your panelists for today will be Mr. Ruben Cantu.
Thank you, Nathan. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ruben Cantu, as previously stated, and it is an honor to be here today. Helping me introduce today's panelists will be your moderator, Sarai Melendez. If you can please give her a round of applause.
Thank you, thank you.
She serves as the head of community engagement at Elements, and she helps us with the Frontera program. And today we want to have a conversation on what the RGV startup ecosystem looks like beyond SpaceX. So as we get involved into that conversation, let's go ahead and introduce some of our first panelists. We'll go tag team back and forth.
Yes, thank you, Ruben. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. As Ruben mentioned, I'm Sarai Melendez. I'm with the Frontera Leadership Community Engagement Manager. So before we get started, this whole week has been so inspiring, right? Just yesterday, we were listening to former President Vicente Fox, and even some of our students were engaging in that dynamic interaction. We want to have that same vibration and energy here. So, because we're very dynamic in the way we interact, some of our panelist speakers are going to be coming up as we introduce them. So it is an honor, and I'm very honored and humbled to be sharing our first speaker. Today is a special day, literally very special, because it is his birthday. And he is already showing a milestone in his growth and his professional development. He's also is the CEO and founder of a startup called Rangers that was formed back in 2024 in the first cohort of the Frontera Leadership Institute. He has a heart of gold. He's a champion for our community. He's an activist, an advocate, and a bridge builder. And he also has a heart that I would say that everybody loves. Who doesn't love him, right, Ruben?
Everyone loves Martin.
Who doesn't love him? Please give a warm welcome to Martin Cuevas.
Please take a seat.
Happy birthday.
Okay. Coming up next on our panel is native from Harlingen, Texas, here in the Rio Grande Valley. We have a lady, a powerful woman who has been named Austin Woman from Austin Women's Magazine Woman of the Year 2025. She runs the Everyday Jefa podcast. She started the Latina Foundation, and she's running accelerators to help advance the entrepreneurial journey for more Latina women, all the way from Austin, Texas, to Brownsville. Please give it up for Bessie Martinez.
Woo!
Thank you.
Well, as we build the momentum up, of course, women leadership is so important. So I'm excited that we'll be introducing another of our speakers. So power to women here. The next speaker that I want to introduce, well, I think obviously coming from a space where SpaceX is here and exists, right? We didn't find him, he naturally found us, I believe. So not only did we find him from outer space, but we literally found him, and I learned about his background from Mars. He literally works in the Mars lab. He's a graduate researcher at UT RGV, computer science, and comes from humble beginnings from his hardworking parents, pushing him to continue moving forward. He's also the co-founder of Rangers that really started back in 2024. So this student and entrepreneur, not to mention that they already said that he's a future legendary. I mean, the Texas Hall of Fame has
Called
already
him
identified
future
that.
legend.
Yes. So without further ado, as we build the momentum with these amazing speakers, please give a warm welcome for Javier Becerril. Come on, Ranger.
Okay, coming up next, from here in Brownsville, also having experienced the Austin spirit, someone who is helping advance the Chamber of Commerce and also our other sister organization, the Economic Development Corporation, GBIC, the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, all the way here supporting us. Please give it up for Giovanna Rangel.
All right. Well, we
one
saved the best for last, but all of these are phenomenal speakers that you're going to listen to. We were just having a conversation how the name sounds like a superhero, right? So let me make sure I get my numbers right here. This individual is the co-founder of Supply Pay. He also started up this providing trade finance for Mexican farmers selling to the U.S. The Supply Pay recently closed a 2.1 million round and is making around 15K in MRR. This individual, prior to founding Supply Pay, launched multiple ventures holding a civic media startup, an AI-focused consulting firm, and a creative agency. He is also a published science fiction author and former data analyst. Let's give a warm welcome to William Steele.
And as William takes his spot, I will take my spot in the audience, and I look forward to having this conversation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ruben. All right, let's get started here. As I mentioned earlier, we're really trying to make this a dynamic and interactive space. At the end of our section, we are going to have an opportunity to do Q&A. The Q&A is going to be for the audience, so if they have any questions and you start listening to some of the stories, all of these speakers bring expertise, experience, and their personal journey and their story. So as we dive deep, we're going to rotate and ask some questions around here, okay? One of the first questions I want to ask, because we've been talking about it, right? SpaceX is here. We have to acknowledge that SpaceX exists and is an industry here. However, I want to go straight to the workforce development and the community impact of what we could see here, both positive or maybe not so positive if we don't think ahead. So as we think about ventures and entrepreneurship, I want to direct this question to Mr. Steele here. Being a founder and being from the Rio Grande Valley, growing up in this area, can you share a little bit about your experience of when you started launching your own entrepreneurship and also how the navigation was about that?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So it actually started here in this building before it opened up. I was, wherever Nathan's at, he's running around here somewhere helping to coordinate things. I was banging the door down and I had heard about eBridge from, I believe it was the Harlingen Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development Committee. I was just basically going to every single city asking, hey, what are the resources that someone like me can gain access to? I'm looking to build, at the time it was a civic media platform. We were using AI to aggregate the sentiment of local community members and help forward those issues to the right elected and appointed officials at different levels of government. And pulling that thread of curiosity led me to the eBridge building, and it was this building specifically, and all of the incredible people at the ECC and at BCIC have been such a big part of my development as an entrepreneur. The Startup Texas program, all of the different communications between the university and the local resources really helped me to kind of get my footing, because my background was not formally in business per se. It was in more computer science and applied math. And then of course I kind of just like stumbled into business and learned through experience. But it gave more of a formal approach. There was more like of an academic approach. There was more theory application, customer segmenting, business model canvases. So for me, finding this building and finding the community here was a really important part of all of that. Like, I didn't know what the process of fundraising looked like. I didn't even know that people fundraised for businesses at the time. You know, it's been so much learning so fast. And so the kind of just always being curious and always asking for help was a big part for me on getting to where we're at now, right? And we're really only like 16 months old now as a startup, so it's just really beginning. And as we continue to grow, I've been fortunate enough to just keep that approach no matter where I go, right? So if I'm in Austin or San Francisco or Mexico City or León, like all of these different places that is kind of required for us to go and establish presence and partnerships with, I keep that same spirit of like, hey, like what are the resources available? How can we become more equipped to navigate the market? Because truly the market is the most difficult. Like, that is the test, that is the arena. Does your business survive in the market? Does it not? Are you able to adapt quick enough, or are you not? So, I mean, for me, a lot of the resources started here, and cultivating the mindset to always ask for help and to be willing to learn from others is a really important part of that process.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what I hear you say, that it really started at home, here.
Yes.
And even in this same place where other programs are happening as well.
Mm-hmm.
To add on to that, I want to guide the question now to Ms. Bessie here. I know you are from Harlingen, and you had started also doing an empowerment series for women, Latinas, especially one that I'm really interested in, the Everyday Jefa. Can you share a little bit about your journey on how that started, and then tell us a little bit more how that has grown to the next satellite in San Antonio?
Yes, so I grew up in Harlingen. I'm originally from El Salvador. This is kind of where we stayed put after a while, and then I went to school in Mercedes. But it's kind of looking back, my trajectory has always been on never finding somebody that looks just like me. I've worked in the hospitality industry. It's kind of like where I started back in 2008. Learned a lot about what it was to have to customer service. Kind of opens up the eyes of, whether you quickly learn if you like people or not, which you really need when you're starting really anything in business and branding and all that good stuff. But when I moved to Austin 5 years ago during the pandemic, I really was looking for friends. And that was something that was ingrained actually here when I lived in the Valley. Los asados on the weekends after church. Hanging out with my mom's friends, or compadres, the tias and the tios that were not technically our tias and our tios. But it was a sense of community. And during the pandemic, I think that we got robbed from that. Suddenly we got the rug taken from underneath us. And I quickly realized that as an entrepreneur at the time, I was helping a lot of small business owners with a lot of their digital marketing, helping them show up online. Somebody actually coined me the Everyday Jefa, because they're like, you're a mom, you're a businesswoman, you're out there doing all the things, you're just an everyday person at the end of the day. But that kind of led me into this kind of series called the travel series. The travel series was called Latinas Lead, and I brought it to the Rio Grande Valley about 2 years ago. And the purpose was to bring women from the area and showcase them in their city. It wasn't about me bringing Austin to the Valley. It was about bringing out the women that were already here in the Rio Grande Valley. They have so much potential, so much drive, so much chingona attitude, as we call it, that we wanted to make sure that everybody knew these are the resources you have in your backyard. These are the people that are out here doing the things for you, but sometimes don't always get the spotlights that they need. And as I continued talking to people, I realized a lot of people wanted more than just just a pamphlet, more than just a website, maybe more than just an Instagram or LinkedIn page. They wanted to sit down next to you and really understand what your personal needs. And so that's what we ended up doing with the Latina Foundation, which I've been doing now for about 5 years to work, and bringing an ecosystem to Latinas where we let them be the drivers of their own car. Tell them this is your opportunity to fail, but you're not going to fail alone. This is your opportunity to build that business that you've been wanting to build it, but you're not going to be alone. Mm-hmm. Community is really at the core of everything that we drive and everything that we do. At the end of the day, we are just everyday jefas. We're out there making decisions for our lives, our personal lives, our business lives, and it really all was ingrained with the community, sense of community that I had when I was growing up here in the Valley.
So, in other words, it does matter the type of leadership that is provided out in the ecosystem. And then you're bringing in a lot of women experience and actually engaging with young professionals. So with both, William, your experience being here, this is home base. You actually created it wherever you were landed. And in Austin, you launched it over there and then opened a satellite in San Antonio.
Yes.
Has that launched officially?
Yes, we are now in San Antonio. We have a local chapter in Austin called Austin Latinas Unidas, and now we have San Antonio Latinas Unidas. And I made this post on my Facebook page, my personal one, and I'm like, hey guys, we just launched in San Antonio. I'm really excited. And all of my friends from here were like, we're ready when you bring it to the RGV. And I said, calmaditas, chicas. Because if anything that I do, I'm very hands-on, which is not something you typically see with a lot of leaders. A lot of leaders will delegate. But for me, my thing is I'm not trying to bring Austin into San Antonio. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to bring Austin into the Rio Grande Valley. I'm trying to bring the San Antonio out of the San Antonio. I'm trying to bring the RGV out of the RGV because there's so much potential. And I got to see that firsthand when I came back 2 years ago to do the travel series, which, by the way, we launched 2 Latina-owned businesses here in the RGV through the thanks of Coca-Cola, no pun intended. They have been huge sponsors of the program, the Jefas on the Move program, where we are starting up these women from ideation into reality, and again, giving them the opportunity to take that wheel and drive it, but knowing that they have a whole community behind them. And that's what we're doing in every city. We're doing that in San Antonio. We just launched in January. And then we're hoping we'll bring this, if anybody wants to take on the task of spearheading that here in the Valley, we're also here to provide all those resources too.
Thank you. So not only do we need the resources like William, you mentioned, and actually the connections and created it on our own, how does that all involve with leadership and community impact? So I want to direct the question now to Martin as the new CEO and founder of Rangers. There was a lot of disconnection when it came to events or going on in the community that you noticed. Can you share a little bit about that journey, how you became the vision and brought the idea to a team?
So living here in the Valley my entire life, I was, there was something that is consistent with all the people that are born and raised here, and that is, there's this saying, there's just never anything to do.
No.
That could not be further from the truth. I didn't really begin to understand that until the beginning of last year. So at the beginning of last year, I was kind of aimless. I didn't really know where I was going in life. I was in a position in life where I didn't know where to go and what to do. And when I found myself in the community, when I found myself out there going out into the community, I realized, wait a second, there's a lot here. There is a plethora of stuff here. There's so much to do. Mm-hmm. But how do we get that to the people? How did this place connect with me? Mm. It was that realization that made us, with Rangers, with our company, go, we have to build that connection out in the fields, really get the connections going. So Rangers, as a company, works to connect people together. We have that dumb little saying that we love to say so much, which is, we are turning strangers into Rangers.
Mm. So Rangers are within everyone.
Yes.
Essentially.
Everybody in this community has the ability to connect. And with those connections, we're able to build something like this, you know? We're literally standing in a hall of great ideas and innovators coming together. And even now, sitting next to my fellow panelists who have built something in this region, it just fills me with such pride that I really am living in this cultural hub.
That's awesome. And it sounds like really the connections have been here, but is how do we create that ecosystem to get it around? I want to pivot a little bit here because being from the Rio Grande Valley, someone who is learning about the Rio Grande Valley, I'm understanding even the distance of transportation and how public transportation could be a support system, but it could also hinder because of financial reasons and whatnot. So pivoting the conversation to Javi. Javi, you travel and commute back and forth from McAllen, and you see this as a home as well. How has your journey been when you were connected to this opportunity and now knowing eBridge is here for you?
Well, yes, I commute from McAllen. I love the Valley. It's such an amazing place. And my commute is very variable. Sometimes I drive, sometimes I take the school bus, sometimes I take the city bus. Whatever it is, I don't mind because I love coming here. I love going to McAllen. I love going to Weslaco, any city in between, because we have so much to offer. eBridge here has so many opportunities to have networking events, programs, classes, and I believe in the last year I've grown so much by commuting and really getting involved with the community and the events they have. I was able to meet Martin through Frontera Leadership Institute. It is a program, product management and entrepreneurship program, where I have been able to really sharpen my tools and my skills of leadership. I really resonated with William and Bessie on what you said about having. First of all, I'm an engineering background, so I have no real experience in business, but I accidentally stumbled upon it similarly because I liked it. It was fun, but I didn't know what to do, so I accidentally started learning things. And I found this program, and it caught my eye because I was on product management, and that is a very big interest of mine, something I want to go into. And so going into this program accidentally, per se, I started learning a lot, and I saw the opportunities really growing here in Brownsville. And traveling back and forth is not an issue for me because of how much I can grow. And not just that, but the community here, it feels very fulfilling seeing other people with like-minded ideas, with very similar goals to mine. Sometimes when you're trapped, maybe I heard somebody say you're a bedroom entrepreneur, you're just in your bedroom making projects. Nothing really happens, but going out here and interacting with community has driven me to want to really do something and expanded my mind, not just thinking, oh, what can I do here, but what can I do in the Valley? What can I do in all of Texas or the US? So again, commuting back and forth, there's many ways to do it, but you really just have to find it. And it's not an issue for me when I have the opportunity to be here.
So that goes back to our topic, right? So beyond SpaceX, right? Beyond the commute, beyond the opportunities, which we can lead now to some of the challenges, right? So I wake up every morning thinking, okay, what problem am I going to solve today? But I think as an entrepreneur, you're thinking that constantly, how can I make my business better? How can I create more revenue to come through, right? So I want to pivot now to the inspiring stories about connections and collaborations, but also the challenges, right? We have another expert here that can share with us a little bit about her background and GBIC, but also the workforce development, right? And how the ecosystem has to be built, being mindful of looking at everything. So with that being said, can you share a little bit about the biggest challenges that we're going to face now if we're not up to par with innovation and technology for the workforce industry?
So first I'd like to say, you all are go-getters, right? You guys have taken advantage of what Brownsville is building for you all, right? And you didn't wait, right? You didn't wait. You went out and you went to your community, to your resources, and really made what you have now, your own business, right? And from our end, at Greater Brownsville, or GBIC, we focus on the industrial companies, right? But specifically on those companies that are already here, right? So we have to make sure that the companies that are here in Brownsville are preparing for what's to come so that they don't be left behind, right? And how do we do that is by upskilling the employees that are already part of these big companies, right? Whether they have 50 employees, whether they have 500 employees, right? We connect them with institutions, with organizations like BCIC, like Texas A&M, UT-RGV, and so on, right? We have so many in Brownsville to ensure that they're staying up to date with the latest trainings, with developing the curriculum that they need. If they need to, purchase new equipment to stay up to date with the technology, because that's changing, right? And we have to be ahead of the game, right? And so that's a big responsibility of what we have currently, right? Is to ensure that not only are they receiving training, but we're upskilling the current employees, and that's very important, right? And the reason for that is because if we can't train just the basic, the soft skills, I mean, we can't continue to move on and embrace those new trades, those new trainings. I mean, definitely there's a lot more in the pipe fitting and the welding and now the AI. I mean, you name it, you pick it, right? Whatever it is that you're passionate about, you will find. And so because of that, we partner with these institutions to ensure that there's grants available for the community. So if you're interested in pursuing a certification and getting your own CDL, again, pipe fitting, even going into engineering, right? I mean, we know that Brownsville's lacking the engineering portion here in our hometown, and so we have that responsibility to ensure that we create that opportunity. There's a big need for engineers, whether it's for SpaceX, whether it's for our local company, and we see it, and trust me, we're working on that because of these long commutes, right?
Yes. Which makes a good segue, because as you start doing startups and entrepreneurship, William, I want to direct this question to you, because the challenges that perhaps other ecosystems are facing may not be the same or be similar. Can you share a little bit about some challenges and maybe opportunities for action to be taken?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point on ecosystem maturity. So I have the privilege of being able to travel to a lot of different cities in different countries and experience different ecosystems in their various stages. And what's really exciting about ours is it's really just getting started in a lot of ways. But we're figuring it out and we're iterating quite quickly. Like between the different even startup Texas programs, just watching the different cohorts and how they've approached the curriculum and how they're approaching preparation, it's been really exciting. I can't say that there's any way I can give any profound insights into improvement there. They're doing an incredible job. Here, I would just say that if there can be more alignment within the entire region in different cities on how to support those infrastructures and maybe how to share to the commuting point, right? Maybe there's, I won't put any ideas out there for say, I'll let the community figure it out. But there's a lot to be done in how the resources between cities are shared, and even between counties, right? Between Hidalgo, between Cameron County, there's plenty of room for improvement in that regard. But even awareness, like hosting events like RGV Startup Week, continuing to promote entrepreneurs, really so that we can continue to incubate and prepare the next generation, right? Like, I mean, you guys just said it, like it's great to know that someone like SupplyPay is really fundraising well and like hitting certain growth metrics and milestones that are quite difficult. It's difficult in any business to build a business. It's really difficult when you're VC backed because there's a pressure to perform in certain ways. But having that story be shared, at high schools, right? At the Frontera Leadership Institute, like continuing to circulate that it's possible to do it here is really important. Like I know when I imagine myself as like a high schooler, if I would have met somebody that was building a cool technology company, it definitely would have inspired me to be like, hey, like I want to go and work there for the summer. Like what can I do to go and support in any way, even if it's just like getting coffee, just being around to listen to the conversations and to the mindset on how those entrepreneurs are thinking about problems. And if the company is doing well, it attracts really great people. And like I'm in a fortunate position where the people that work with me are way smarter than me. It's really inspiring because example, I have a great head of engineering, Madeline. She was at AI at Microsoft, and then she was a founding engineer at a company called Modify. Modify recently got acquired by Adobe. Going through just the process of an acquisition as a company and as an early employee is such a fascinating perspective to have, right? So if I was in high school, I'd be like, hey, how do I go hang around Madeline more, right? How do I be a fly on the wall in those conversations? And that happens because you're aware that it's there. So maybe, more promotion of the, in ways that will reach those audiences, right? So where are the high schoolers? Where's the people in UTRGV? Where are they going and how are they hearing about the stories, right? Because, of course, I met Javier, when was it? We were at iCorps, right? Yeah, so this was almost a year ago when we first started SupplyPay. That was a great experience because I got to meet so many students coming out of the program and still keep in touch with several of them in many different ways, whether it's through LinkedIn posts but it takes, you're an exception. You're both exceptions in the fact that you really put yourself out there, to what you were saying. You're go-getters. How can we reach more of those individuals and inspire them more? Because the long-term economic impact of a company that becomes hyper successful, like one of those outlier companies, is hard to actually imagine. So it's hard to imagine if we're successful at SupplyPay in the ways that I think we can be, just how big, if we plant headquarters in the Valley long term, the economic impact of our company will be. I've watched it firsthand. I've have a few friends that have founded companies that go on to be valued at more than $1 billion. The economic impact that they have in their communities is greater than $1 billion. Because they're employing very high-paid, high-earning families who also require that education levels get raised, right? So then you have endeavors for whether it's community education infrastructure or investment into local public infrastructure or private infrastructure. Mm-hmm. You start to up the level of education from a primary school perspective. So you can't quite imagine the rippling effects of having a hyper successful technology company and how it impacts the community until you've gone and seen it firsthand. If you just look at the education system in places like San Francisco, or you go to more like Palo Alto, right? And you look at the quality of living and how everything is, we can have that here. That's very, very possible. And we have a really interesting set of problems to solve that people in those areas don't have. We have a privilege because we're able to solve cross-border trade as a huge component of problem sets, right? Even migration, the process of migration, there's so much room for improvement in all of these processes, and there's a massive opportunity right now in a lot of the chaos that the government is feeling to make an avenue through that. And so how do we get more people thinking about these problems? How do we get more people willing to roll the dice? Because it's a gamble, and it's not easy, and it's very challenging every day, and it requires almost a level of spiritual growth that you have to be prepared for. If you want to become a really good leader, you're going to have to work on yourself in ways that you never imagined. I mean, it's a lot of work. But those are some of the things that I think are possible here, and it starts with getting more publicity. How can we get the attention on more stories, like what Rangers is doing, what SupplyPay is doing, into the right audiences.
So just yesterday, go ahead.
Sorry,
John.
can I add to that? It got me thinking, kind of where we can start, right? One of the things that we pride on at GBIC is we bring in the students to the employers, right? And the main reason why we do that is to get them thinking, right? Do you want to go into trades? Do you want to go to college? Do you want to be an entrepreneur, right? And it's really up to us to do that because, high school students don't know what's in Brownsville, right? If you don't educate them as to what companies are coming, I didn't even know we had so many manufacturing companies in Brownsville until I got into this economic development organization. So I wonder even, do they even know that SpaceX even exists, right? to that extent, because Some of them maybe don't have social media, right? And so we do this event called Rally in the Valley every year, right? Where we bring together over 400 high school seniors, juniors and seniors. And we put together a couple panels, right, that can kind of actually that educate them as to the opportunities and internship opportunities in different sectors, right? Not only with LNG companies, not only with the local manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, but to inspire them, right? If we don't get to go to them, they're not going to know what's available. And it goes back to the entrepreneurship, right? Another side of part of Rally in the Valley is the job fair, the employer fair, right? We invite over 50 different employers, institutions to come talk to them, to educate them on the opportunities that they have here in Brownsville. And whether it's in Brownsville or in the Valley, right, these institutions give them, you know, the pamphlets, the information. Hey, we have grants, we have certifications, and we try to do that every year to ensure that they know what's happening, right? So I think getting more entrepreneurs a part of these, you know, events can inspire them to be the next entrepreneur as well.
So what I hear both of you saying, and really what this whole conversation is, just yesterday we learned about the social determinants of health. And if you look at the social determinants of health, you're looking at the whole ecosystem. Access to financial services, access to public education or higher education, access to medical assistance, right? So the social determinants of health really determines how your community is going to be built up. But I think, William, and what you're saying, Giovanna, is also leadership, right? And engagement. So if those events and this space already exist, what's missing, right? What's missing? What more innovative way can we go? Do we go even further down? Do we go elementary? Does it start at home? Like you mentioned, Bessie, jefas, right? Jefas on the move. All these hats that we wear. So I think I want to just popcorn it, because I want to know what's missing. Go ahead,
So something I've noticed as being somebody who went from just a passerby to being up here on stage to owning a business is it starts with the culture.
Culture.
I truly believe that the culture in the Valley for a long time has been based around the idea of we work to survive. We work to just take care of ourselves and our family, but never really to move forward. When SpaceX a decade ago said that they wanted to come into the region, I remember my mom telling me, oh, that's fantastic, you can apply for a job there. But the job that she was thinking was an astronaut. The job she was thinking was janitor, or the guy who helps build the roads there.
Okay.
It wasn't a growing mindset. It was the mindset of just like, good, it's an opportunity to work. It's an
9 to 5.
opportunity. Yes, it's an opportunity to live comfortably. That, I think, is the problem we have with the culture here. And that has been, we're just trying to survive. But as I joined the FLY, as I joined eBridge, as I became more and more involved in my community, I realized we were all trying to do the exact same thing. We're all trying to build up these grand businesses so that we can all like sustain ourselves. And then I was blown away with this concept of why don't we all just work together on that? Build each other up. I came back to the program after going through it, learning it, so I can teach it, so that way the culture shifts. The community mindset around entrepreneurship shifts. It's no longer, oh, I'm working so I can hustle my way to success. It's, I'm working so I can build a better community here. And that's why I came to work with Tavi. That's why I came to build a business which markets for small businesses exclusively. I want to help businesses go from being a crackpot idea to the next big thing. I feel that having something like SpaceX coming here into the region is a huge, huge impact into the community. And impacts are good. Financial impacts are good, but it also comes with influence. An influence that makes it harder for people within the region to actually get anything we want done. If anybody is keeping up with the news, we recently had people from within the region, groups like the South Texas Environmental Justice Network and Frontera Fund, argue in Texas Senate to have our beaches open to us again. Why were they closed?
You mean the public beaches?
The Boca Chica Beach,
Oh, okay.
the People's Beach.
Yes.
Why was that closed to the community? It was closed because of SpaceX wanting it to be closed, because of their rocket launches. Now, I don't necessarily hate them being here. It's a big impact to the community. Look, we're here now greatly because of them, but I don't want the influence in this region to be based around the big fish. I want it to be based around us, based around the people that are from here, to really influence our futures. I think for me, that's what leadership should be. It should be us changing our own horizons.
And adding on to that, because Vicente Fox just said yesterday too, like, what happened to the traditional way? Hey, I need to talk to you about a problem. Can we communicate? Can we meet up? Let's have coffee. He said we need to go back to those ways where it doesn't become conflict, but let's bring the conflict into the conversation. So when you mentioned about leadership, I want to add on to Bessie, and maybe Javi can chime in. What does leadership mean to you, and how has that transformed into the community?
I think leadership is by just showing up. The minute you start showing up for yourself, you're already leading the pack, because somebody's still thinking of all the million reasons not to show up even for themselves. And I can say, yesterday I was driving around. Like I said, I haven't been here in 2 years, but when I went and had our event in West Licco, we literally came, had our event, and left. So I didn't get a chance to like drive around and see the changes that have taken since I graduated high school and left. And thinking about the conversation that we were going to be having today. And for me, it's not about reinventing the wheel. They're here, yes. They put a spotlight on this area, which is amazing, because there's such a huge, and it could be physical, like the roads between the valley and the next city over. But that shouldn't be the reason why the valley doesn't continue growing on its own, because the people are what make the valley, not SpaceX. SpaceX just happened to be the one that looked at something strategically, territorially, and beneficial to them, and thought, well, yeah, we're going to bring, but catered to the whole idea of what we're bringing, jobs to the community and all the things that we like to hear. But ultimately, at the end of the day, SpaceX has never made the valley. The valley's always made the valley. The valley has its own thing. That's why it's all puro 956 and all that good stuff. Or we say, in other words, we're going to keep it PG. But community makes community. You make community. Community isn't just the singular person. Community is already 2 people, 3 people, 4, 5 people. How many having the conversation and driving? And you're already leading when you're having the conversation. Hey, you see what's happening in the news? Hey, that is leading. You're leading. That's what, if you really take it to the core definition in the dictionary, it's taking an initiative to move forward. And by thinking the thought and executing, you're already leading. So be an execution. Don't worry about what's going on over there. They put a spotlight, cool beans, yes. Take what they've done and make it your own. That's how you're going to keep leading. One thing that we did in Austin, the Latina Foundation, is, I don't know if you guys have heard, there's an event over there called South by Southwest. Okay. I went to South by Southwest 2 years ago. I was so excited. I was exhausted by the time we were done. If you've ever experienced it, it's amazing, but it's draining. There's so much walking, it just takes a lot out of you. But one thing I noticed is there was not enough Latino spaces for us. There were not conversations revolved by Latinos for Latinos. So I took it upon myself to create my own space. And I have always been a firm believer, if you can't find it, you become it or you create it. That's how I've built my foundation. That's how I've built my podcast. But I don't just stay there. I take it one step forward and I say, who else can I bring on board that needs to be part of this movement? And we created a pop-up during South by that's called House of Chingonas. Yes, House of Chingonas. Why? These are conversations of women, not just from Austin. They were coming from all parts They were taking what was already established, which was South by Southwest, and we were amplifying, we're here too. Come and check us out. Come and see what's going on. Let's educate you, but also let's put people that are also leading the pack in venture capital, in media, in sports, in AI, in all the topics that we are all wanting to have conversations, but for whatever reason, we still don't have those. So beyond SpaceX means you are the beyond. You as the individual person, every day you make a decision for your business, for yourself in your leadership, whether it's in school or at work, your 9 to 5, you are already going beyond what's already the narrative. You're taking control over it. You're pushing with it. That makes you a leader, just pushing forward.
So leading by example, but also stepping into that role. Thank you for sharing that. We want to make time for Q&As, but before we do, I want to have everybody share and describe maybe a word. Javi, I know you were going to mention about leadership. So if you can describe, like, if we could put a magic wand and say, this is what I want in leadership, because I want to see it in others. What are those 2 to 3 words that you would want to share?
It's tough to just say 2 or 3 words, because when I think of leadership, I used to believe that leadership was setting an agenda. It was setting up due dates, saying this is what's going to be done, having a calendar, and trying to meet deadlines. And I could not have been more wrong, because leadership, what truly is leadership, is ensuring that your teammates, that your group has the resources they need, that they're placed within opportunities, within positions in which they can succeed. And they're not just doing something because they need to get some money or because they're trying to fulfill a certain part of the project, but because they have true passion for that. When you do that, when you place people on these opportunities, they're not driven because you're pushing them. They're not driven because of a deadline. They're driven because they truly want to succeed in that project. They have the passion and the drive for that project, and they're given the tools to do so. So leadership isn't just pushing people. It's not telling people what to do. Leadership is being a friend, being someone that you can look up to, being someone that's there for the community, being someone that is looking out for others and is just wanting people to succeed and teams to succeed.
So leaders inspire leaders, right?
Yes,
essentially.
truly.
Awesome. Well, Ruben is here on the side. I'm going to see if I can borrow a mic for Q&A, and then we can help Martin. If there's a question, we can bounce the mic out there. Does anybody have a question for our panelists? All right. Angie. By the way, I just want to acknowledge Angie asked a question yesterday of Vicente Fox, so here we go. No pressure, no pressure.
Just as important.
Oh. Is it working?
How can small businesses here in Brownsville make a better impact and become make Brownsville even a bigger impact?
So what I hear you say, how can business development be a bigger impact for Brownsville?
No, the small businesses.
The small businesses.
Become a bigger impact in Brownsville and become within all leaderships together.
So that was something that we originally considered when we built Rangers, when we built my company around marketing small businesses. 99% of businesses in America are small businesses.
Closer.
A lot of the people here are small business owners. A big reason, it's even called RGV Startup Week.
Mm-hmm.
Startup businesses are going to become a bigger thing as we move into more difficult times economically within the country. And because of that, that makes it so that we have to carve out the culture within this community. When Brownsville started as a little trade hub, as a little fort area for the military here, it made it so that it was more of like a military outpost. And as trade became a bigger and bigger thing here, it became a trading hub. It became so big within the region that it even was described as the second White House of America because of the amount of money and financial power that Brownsville held. That was our history, and that carved out a name and a legacy here. As we move towards the future, that culture is shifting. And we, within the community, can make that shift happen. We can be a community that helps excel every voice, that helps push every business. Or we can be one that tries to just promote the big dogs that are here, that just tries to promote a little bit of aerospace tourism. I wanted the region to get like everybody's voice like out there. So that's why we created a team just to spread word of mouth for like everyone else.
So what I hear you say is that we need to make sure we're talking to our neighbors, like maybe Maria, Jose, make sure that they're still part of the conversations when it comes to supporting small businesses and connecting them.
Absolutely.
I think I could jump in. Your taxes.
Say that again, William.
Yeah, make sure you pay your taxes. And then make sure you show up when there are local board meetings and discussions around where those tax dollars are going to be allocated, right? So that's a really big way to help create more incentives, create more programs like the ones we're experiencing here, because you contribute to that. Your tax dollars go towards those pools of money, and you have influence there, right? So that's a big one. Don't forget your taxes.
We have time for 2 more questions. Yes. Alan?
Hello, yeah. I have a question for Mr. William Steele, just about supply pay. Like, what is the origin? What were the conflicts that you made when you first started supply pay? Was there a pivot? And then what's the future? What does the future for supply pay hold? Are you going to sort of like automate things? Do you use AI in your business currently? Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So supply pay was initially founded to solve the pain of long cash flow conversion cycles in cross-border trade. If you all ever talk to anyone that exports goods from Mexico to the United States or to any country, you'll find that they have really long payment cycles. And for everyone up here that runs a business, you know that cash is kind of the gas of your engine.
Yeah.
And if you're having too long between stops, you might die in the desert, right, so to say. And so we came in to help provide that liquidity during those transactions. So we built an automated platform for financing receivables. So when you get an invoice from your buyer, you can log into supply pay. We very quickly know the validity of that invoice. We underwrite the supplier and the buyer for different risks, and then we purchase that invoice at a discount, thus advancing that dollar amount for that transaction. And what it really means is the supplier gets access to money that they were going to get access to at a later date, much sooner. And that was the initial kind of problem that really prompted the starting of the company. I met my co-founder, this is a great story actually relative to where we're at. It took place on a stage just like this, but on the other side of the room. About a year, this was December 2023, at the Startup Texas Accelerator Competition, I pitched another company that I was working on, got no funding because it had no sustainable business model. So it was great that it didn't get funded. And the next morning I was at my wife's restaurant. We have a restaurant in Westlaco called Lefa House. I was kind of just serving bowls, trying not to think about the disappointing loss that I took on stage. And in someone from the CIC, Miss Persephone, I don't know if she's here today, but we definitely owe her great thanks, because of her, she brought Jorge to the restaurant. We had a meal. He started telling me all about the interest rate environments in Mexico and how he grew up in an agricultural town, actually quite similar to President Fox in Guanajuato, in a town called Pénjamo. And he grew up in an agricultural family, worked as a head accountant of a large exporting co-op of Roma tomatoes, and then later came to McAllen to be the CFO of a fresh produce importing company. So he had felt the pain across that entire supply chain. He needed somebody to build the idea that had experience kind of building technology products. And so we teamed up, started solving that problem, and now we're really looking at some interesting problems along the supply chain where it comes to visibility, stakeholder buy-in. So when you move those goods from Mexico to the United States, In some cases, there can be as many as 8 parties involved. You have the supplier, the buyer, the trucking company in Mexico, the trucking company in the US, you have the customs broker in Mexico, the customs broker in the United States, and then you have the port officials on both sides of the border. So it's quite a complex process to get the goods to their final destination, and it requires a lot of communication, a lot of coordination, and a lot of that is lacking in the current systems that they're using in the supply chain. So we actually built another product called SupplyLink, and we've been testing a lot with our early customers. Essentially, it uses WhatsApp agents to communicate with truck drivers and our platform to help create visibility on where the orders are at in real time. And so a lot of that comes from good product design, right? And understanding how to build for your customers the right way. A really great book for product design that I always find myself going back to is called Evidence Guided, if anyone is ever curious to learn more about it. And so, yeah, the future is quite simple. We want to streamline the global supply chain. We want to do that in every component of the business. We want to empower the departments within each of those organizations that I just mentioned, the brokers, the port officials, the drivers, and the buyers and sellers. And we think that that's possible. We think that it's possible by 2030 to reduce the error at ports to less than 1% for North America, Canada, US, and Mexico, as well as finance more than 1 million transactions a month.
Thank you. We have one more question. Time for one more question. Yes, Damien? I think, yeah.
I have a question, and this is for 3 of you ladies. Ms. Ana Melendez, if you want to answer this as well. So going about leadership, you have a team, right? And they're somewhat like, lost or whatever, and they don't know what to do. What can you ladies as leaders can do to solve that problem?
Bessie, want to take a lead on that? If I understood your question, Damien, it's what can women in leadership do to advance more women to make sure that they can get to the next level? Is that right? Well, you want to add some clarity? Yeah.
Well, somewhat.
Okay. What?
Well, it's somewhat there, but like what I'm trying to say is that like what can you do to like help out your team if they're like lost and they don't know what to do? Like what can you ladies do to help them?
Collaboration. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me collaborating with other women. Like, that is my thing, hands down. To this day, I do not understand why there's competition. We should not be competing because you bring something to the table that the next person doesn't, even if we're in the same industry. I have collaborated with other Latina organizations in Austin and here in the Valley and San Antonio and in Dallas. And we all are trying to solve the same problem. There's too many Latinos for only certain organizations to be able, or companies to be able to solve the same problem. But when we all come collectively, we all bring what we able to reach that goal faster. And so we amplify each other along the way. Like a lot of so the Everyday Jefa is a podcast now, and it's really amplifying the voices of other Latina women. And it's all about not just your life as a Latina woman, but also asking the same question. What are you doing to be able to support the community that you support? Or how are you, I meant to ask this question at an earlier panel, and my question to them was, how do you celebrate yourself? Because as Latina women, sometimes we don't celebrate ourselves. And that's just, you can call it whatever it is. There's a million reasons. But when I'm sitting next to her and I'm sitting next to her, sorry guys, there's something about the room that you just put 5 of us together, and it could be we're talking about what we had for breakfast, what our challenges was, what was in our cafecito or wasn't in our cafecito, what our fashion, and then we get down to business because we've already cleared the air, we already settled business, and now we're like going straight to the thing, and we're one of those like, give me 5 things and I can make you 20, So I think that is how at least I am amplifying other Latino women, is by sitting at the table and saying, what do you have going on? What do you have going on that we can collectively push forward?
Collaboration. Giovanna, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I would just say, I would support, right? As a leader, you need to be able to provide support to whoever's, whether in trouble or just, trying to find a path. If we're able to support each other, I mean, there's no way to see what we can do together, so.
Collaboration, support, and I think I'll finalize it with communication. Communication, whether it be with body language, with emotional support, but also even now, just communicating in different ways so you can get the message out. So with my neurodivergency mind, I tend to go from, hey, let's get to business, squirrel, eagle. Let's talk about that. So that tends to be the way I navigate sometimes, and it gets to more innovative ways of thinking of ideas. So that is time for us. Wow. Well, we're at the hour. We want to honor the time for the next panel, if that is coming up. It's 4:05. So we're going to wrap it up. Let's give a warm thanks to all of our speakers here. And they're going to stay in touch, so we'll be able to navigate and talk to them on the audience. So thank you so much.